Really, this presentation is about my research program overall, which is about charity sport events. So the question that is my overarching question for my research program across my entire career is this: how can we use sport to increase charitable giving, charitable involvement, and generosity among individuals and communities? This question doesn't guide every single piece of research that I've done, but the vast majority come back to this question. This is the issue that I'm trying to address across my career. The foundation for this question comes from some industry experience I had. I worked for a couple years prior to my PhD for a nonprofit organization called the Lance Armstrong Foundation, which had the mission to inspire and empower individuals living with cancer. I worked at a variety of different fundraising events that the organization had that were sport-based, where individuals fundraised on behalf of this particular cause. I went to these events and I saw that there was something meaningful happening. I wanted to impact that meaning through my research. I'm going to present to you sort of 2.5 phases of my research. The first phase was the glory days for this context. I would go to conferences and people say, it's really good that you're researching in this space. It was primarily research out of sport management. It was looking at the motives for event participation and the factors that contributed to a meaningful charity sport event experience. The next phase was logical, going from the antecedents to the outcomes. What happened as a result of these events? Again, there was a lot of positive vibes around this context. We were shifting from sport management to sociology and psychology. And again, it was a favorable time for this particular research context and sector. The next phase was to move beyond participants and look at other stakeholders in the charity sport event sector. So I started looking at donors. Again, looking at charity sport event participants, but looking at it from the fundraising perspective. Charity sport managers, charity sport event sponsors, and I was in the initial stages of looking at beneficiaries, those who benefit from these events, those who receive the funds that are raised. And then something happened. I bet you know what it is. 2020, 21,000 mass participation sport events were scheduled to take place here in Australia. 19,000 of those were canceled. A lot of those never came back. 2021, another year for event cancellations. That was an inflection point for the charity sport event sector, but there are a variety of other societal trends that were taking place that have had a significant impact on the sector. First off, quite frankly, people aren't giving to charity as much as they used to, and this has been going on for years. There are a variety of statistics that backed it up, that people are less inclined to give to charity. Some statistics out of the US, in 2005, 67% of households donated to charity. In 13 years' time, that has dropped to 50%. The global financial crisis was a nadir for charitable giving. We've recovered globally somewhat, but it's incremental progress. We've never fully recovered from that 2008 GFC. And we're seeing an erosion in trust in institutions, and nonprofits are part of this. People are less trusting of nonprofit organizations, and as a result, less willing to donate through events like charity sport events. In addition, we've seen the rise of crowdfunding campaigns. So individual-based fundraising campaigns where you set up your own website, you tell the story of why you need these funds, and you generate a community of donors. These have become massively popular and massively impactful, and they are particularly popular among the younger generation. Among Gen Z, there is evidence that suggests that they feel that giving directly via individual crowdfunding is more impactful and more important. Academic research has demonstrated that these individual crowdfunding campaigns can be more persuasive because they combine the emotional, the rational, and the credible. And there's a perception that large-scale charities such as the Red Cross already have too much money, so you're better off donating to these individual crowdfunding campaigns. There's also a shift in giving behaviors. Effective altruism is a movement. Had some weird headlines in recent months, to be honest, but it is about being more selective in our charitable giving and really chosen few charities. Also, mutual aid. Peer-to-peer giving that isn't about money, it's about services and resources. In addition, during the pandemic, there was a lot of individual giving, one-to-one financial base. So there's a shift in how people are giving. So now giving time is perceived as just as valuable as giving money, and giving skills, items, and acts of kindness are also viewed as important. In 2021, only 7% of Americans gave money exclusively to charity. If you expand the definition of giving, that number rises to 82%. Then, of course, we had the rise of virtual events, in part because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Charity sport event providers had to move to virtual events or hybrid-based events, and initial research suggests that consumers are pretty receptive to this. They're understanding of the need for this shift and appreciative of the adaptation that took place. I'm involved in a project. We're doing some preliminary analysis of the results, and it demonstrates that consumers appreciate the adaptation. The same motives that drove in-person events are driving virtual event participation. The opportunity to support and fundraise for a charity is an appealing aspect and a challenging aspect, just as with in-person events. And COVID-19 heightened people's willingness to give, so there is real opportunity here. Another factor impacting the sector, and this was before COVID, and it's accelerated even further, insurance costs are incredibly high, and we're seeing real attrition in the number of event companies that can deliver these events simply because the cost to deliver them, the cost of insurance are that high. So with all these trends in mind, what can we do? What can the sector do? What can academics do to assist the sector? Oh, sorry, the last challenge, I got ahead of myself, is a lack of diversity. I talked about those glory days where charity sport events were celebrated. There's a far more critical lens to them now. They are incredibly undiverse. People portray them as events for white people by white people that make white people feel good about themselves. And that criticism is not unfair at all. So with all that in mind, what can we do as academics to help the charity sport event sector? Well, we need to explore how to innovate virtual events, how to build community, and how to create more touch points in the virtual space. We need to learn from crowdfunding campaigns so we can improve the impact stories that we tell our fundraisers and donors. Is it time to revisit what the fundraising requirements and recommendations that go with these events and open up the definition of what it means to give? Some potential research projects. Asking event managers, what does it mean to have a successful event? When I meet with industry and I ask that question, I'm always surprised by the answer. How can technology be leveraged to improve post-event communication, in particular the impact stories? How can charity sport events be positioned across an individual's giving portfolio? And what role can sponsors play in innovating in these events? Just a few suggestions for ideas to address these ongoing challenges. I welcome your questions, your comments, and of course, invite your collaborations. Huge thanks to GIFT for always supporting my research across my career. Thanks, everyone.